This is Dan and Lexi from Dan Schultz Outdoors, reminding you to keep the adventures alive. Hey y'all, I'm Johnny.
And I'm Colleen. And we're the Keel Quest. And we want you to keep the adventures alive. Cheers!
Hey, this is Darren from Ride Paddle Repeat, encouraging you to keep the adventures alive.
This is David from Beachley Ironworks saying keep the adventures alive.
I'm Jay. Let's go. From Jay's Way, keep the adventures alive.
Hi, I'm Kevin Collin, the Happy Camper. Remember, keep the adventures alive. Awesome!
Woo, buddy! Shug here! Keep the adventures alive. I am.
Ethan here, the avid outdoorsy guy, reminding you to keep the adventures alive.
We're John and Aaron.
Keep the adventures alive.
Hey everyone, it's Kylan from Lure of the North, and I encourage you to keep the adventures alive.
This is Sky North telling you, keep the adventures alive. And now on with the show.
Tonight's episode of CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show is brought to you by OTG Meals. Fresh, freeze-dried, small-batch meals made for people on the go. Algonquin Outfitters, with 4 key locations in and around Algonquin Park to serve your backcountry needs. Kid Products, stick stoves and reflector ovens proudly made in Canada. And Novacraft Canoes, connecting you with nature in Canadian-made canoes since 1970. Well, happy Tuesday and welcome back everybody to another episode of CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show. My name is Dennis, also known as CanoeHound, and if this is your first time tuning in, thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully we'll do enough tonight to make you a believer and make you a subscriber of the channel, and maybe even hit that thumbs up. You know what? We got a good show lined up for you, one that's been a couple of months in the making. You know what? I've been enjoying a series that I've been watching on YouTube quite a bit. Quite a few episodes from 3 different content creators, and we'll get into that in a bit. But you know what? It's been really good and entertaining to watch. As you all know, I like collaborative efforts by YouTubers, and this is one that truly shone. It truly shone. But before we get into tonight's guests, just a few things to bring up here while the population happens over there in the chat. So feel free to sit back, relax, and we'll get through this together. Let's see here. Couple simple things. Next week, we got a pretty good show coming up again as well. Just looking for my notes here because, wow, I lost myself. I totally lost myself here because I have the wrong sheet in front of me. Anyways, let's get through some show announcements. Wow, Dennis truly had a brain fart here. got a lot of shows, outdoorsy type of shows coming up here in the near future. And I'm going to be putting a list of them on my website there. It's going to happen within the next week. So it'll be by next week's show. So with that being said, I'm just going to list off a few here because there are a couple that are kind of time sensitive as far as getting your tickets because they do sell out. One of the main ones is the Ontario Backcountry Canoe Symposium, which is on March 25th. Yes, that's quite it's a month and a half away, but you're going to want to make sure you get your tickets for that early if you are going because it tends to sell out. And they are in a new venue, which holds more people, but it still may have that tendency to sell out. So you do want to get those tickets early. All you need to do is visit online, go to Ontario Backcountry Canoe Symposium, and you'll be able to follow the links there to get your tickets. It's under $20. It's a great day of learning and some great presentations. I believe our good friend Kevin Cowan's going to be presenting this year, and a few other notable people. So you're going to want to make sure you check that out. February 24th to 26th, we have the Outdoor Adventure Show in Toronto coming up. I will be presenting at that there, so I'm looking forward to that. And a few others that will be presenting there as well. So if you happen to be in the area, get your tickets early. Come on down, see us, say hi, and that's going to be a fun time. March 4th, we got the Quiet Adventure Symposium in Lansing, Michigan. March 10th to 12th, and I got my tickets for this. Going to Canoecopia in Madison, Wisconsin. You know what? The year of COVID, the year COVID started, when everything started shutting down, it also shut down Canoecopia. So I was lucky enough that I had credit for my flight and stuff like that. So we're going to Canoecopia. I'm looking forward to that. I understand it's quite the show. It's a real spectacle to see. So looking forward to that. Now that I have my notes in front of me here, we next week's show, we are going to be having Martin Pine and Barry Martin, and they're from Yours Outdoors. They're a interactive outdoor school educational type of thing that teaches all kinds of workshops on winter camping, canoeing. Like if it's outdoors, it's Yours Outdoors. So you want to make sure you tune in for that, and you will see us as a good show next week. Let's see here. Time to throw a little acknowledgement going across the screen there for my channel sponsors or channel members. These people at the bottom here are awesome people. You know what? They're channel members, have been many of them for like 3 years now. And you know what? Without their support, this show would not happen. So if you see them in the chat, just give them a thumbs up. Give them a good thank you, because like I say, without their support, the show probably wouldn't happen. It helps pay for all the different things like, our streaming software, equipment to do this here, and, the odd cup of coffee. That's always a good thing too. So cheers, everybody. Let's see here. Well, that's going across the bottom of the screen. We're just going to throw across a couple of birthday wishes. Happy birthday to a past guest and organizer of Paddle in the Park. For those of you who are familiar with him, Preston Seary. It's his birthday, and coming up is his birthday. So if you happen to see Preston, or if you know of him, or you follow him on Facebook, drop him a big happy birthday. And then, of course, one of tonight's guests, Paul Martindale from the YouTube channel When Adventure Pauls. He will be celebrating he's just finishing his birthday. So when he gets on screen here tonight, everybody throw up some birthday cakes and stuff in the chat over there, because they are tuning in, my guest tonight, and it's like midnight there right now. So he's just finishing his birthday, but they're coming to join us, and we're going to be having a good evening with them as well. Two more quick things. If you have any guests or hot topics you'd like to see on the show here, please do drop me an email at canoehound@gmail.com. It's very helpful to me when I know what you want to see. It gives me the ability to get out there and canvas and try and put together these shows for you. So if you have any ideas, please do drop an email right down there, and I'd be more than happy to try and make it happen. And then lastly, just like every week, if you have a question, please feel free to ask the question in the chat, or wait until after the 8 o'clock hour. But if you do put it in the chat, please put the word question in capital letters before your question, and that will allow me to more easily find your question and try and get it up on screen for you. So without further ado, let's get into tonight's guests. Let's see. Tonight we're joined by a couple of UK paddlers who this summer traveled to Canada to take in an adventure of a lifetime and take on a 10-day canoe trip in Algonquin Provincial Park. For some of us, it's there. For many of us, it's not there. But you know what? These guys, they lived a dream and they come on over and did it. Our first guest was born in Argentina, now lives with his wife and 4 children in the UK. And around 3 years ago, he rediscovered his love for adventure, outdoors, and nature. From YouTube channel Eze Adventures, please welcome Ezekiel, also known as Eze. We'll call him Eze tonight.
Hey everyone. Thanks, Dennis, for having me on the show. It's a
Hey.
pleasure to be here.
My pleasure. It's been a little while happening, and I've been waiting for this day because I've been enjoying your series, and I'm pumped. I'm stoked.
Thank you so much. Me too. Likewise. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Our second panelist is also from the UK. Now lives in the Scottish Highlands. He was one of Eze's paddle partners on this Algonquin trip that they did. And please welcome to the live stream. When nature calls, we have Paul. Hey, man.
Hey, Dennis, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in. Like I say, this is late for you guys. Well, late.
Midnight.
We'll say it's late. It's about midnight for you guys. There's about a 5-hour time difference. So I really appreciate you guys, catching your little cat naps before coming on the show and stuff like that. I know with Eze, you got 4 kids, you got to settle the kids and stuff like that. But I really appreciate you guys making the effort to come on tonight and share some of your stories, because you guys are over in the UK, we're over here in Canada. Not many of us get the opportunity to go there, but you guys had the opportunity to come here, right? Whose idea was that?
I think it was
I can't see Eze. Is Eze there? Is he there?
I can
He's
see
not coming
you.
up on my screen for some reason. Is he?
We got you, Paul. We got you, Paul. Yeah,
I'm here. I can see you.
I think it was mainly Eze and Fred. I think when we went on our last camping trip, we was in Glen Affric, and I heard them talking about this trip they were thinking of doing. And I think I probably muscled in on it a little bit, if anything. Did I?
That's
No,
cool.
you were there. We were by the campfire in Glen Affric, which is this beautiful place in the remote highlands of Scotland. And it was actually the first time I met Paul. We decided to go there. I saw his video on YouTube. He saw mine, and we decided that we kind of trusted each other enough to assess that no one was, neither one of us was crazy. And we went on that trip, and then that the first night, I think Fred joined us. Fred Cole. He spoke to Paul. He joined us, and we were discussing over the fire, overlooking this beautiful lake, and just appreciating this little tiny spot left of nature, of wilderness that was there. And we realized how scarce the nature really was in the UK, and especially in Scotland is where most of it is left, but it's still such a tiny bit left. And we realized we wanted not a speckle, but we wanted as much as we could get. And we knew straight away Canada was kind of the mecca for this, and that's where the idea grew. And just under a year later, actually, we realized it, and we went to Algonquin.
That's all right. So now there were 4 of you, right? 3 of the 4 of you are YouTubers. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Fred's not a YouTuber, right?
Fred has I think he has a YouTube channel, but he doesn't. I don't think he does it with the same level, that we do. But he does amazing photography. He's more of a photographer than video, so
Right.
He does amazing shots. He took some really beautiful shots in Algonquin with the night sky, and I think I don't see Paul. I don't know if I've lost him or.
Yeah, he just dropped out. I think he's going to drop out,
sure,
probably pop back in again. So
No problem. And then the 4th guy was Adventure is Made, which is Matty. I'm actually drinking from his cup here
There
in
we go,
representation, Matty, the mug. And
hi, Matt, if you watch the video later.
Yeah, and Matt came as well. I also met Matt independently by going on a trip with him. We saw each other's content and the same kind of thing. It's really strange how in YouTube you you feel like you know someone, you know.
Mhm.
And um and it's both ways, because you see, you know, they see your content but you also see them, so it's kind of this mutual um insight into each other. And then I don't know, I mean, out of those 2 times, it turned out the people were pretty much exactly how I imagined they would be. And so we did one trip with Matt, and then we did another one, and then, you know, we did another one, and we started going on adventures together. And then Matt came in, so I asked the guys, you know, can I bring Matt? And then, you know, we went from 3 to 4. So Matt actually didn't meet Paul or Fred before the trip.
Mhm.
He didn't know them at all. So he probably had the biggest kind of wild card effect, you know, 10 days with these 2 guys. I mean, 1 out of 4 is okay, you know.
Yeah.
The other 2 I'm not sure about, but you know, we all got along amazingly well, and we all have things in common, the outdoors, and I don't think you need more than that, you know.
Mhm. Well, you mentioned that, like, you know, we talked earlier in the green room. You were mentioning about, you know, you watch Xander and John, right? And the chemistry them 2 guys have. And it was
Yeah.
pretty much the same for them guys with the way they kind of got together to do collaborative videos as what you guys have done. And also like Joe Robinette and Tosh. And, you know, these guys, they're just brought together by this YouTube community, a common love for doing what they do outside and sharing it with people. And before you know it, there, you know, one reaches out to the other, and you know, before you know it, it could go bad. It could go bad. But from almost every collaborative effort I've ever seen so far,
Yeah.
it seems to have worked out. You know,
Yeah.
everybody's on that same level playing field as far as
Yeah.
your love for the outdoors, right?
Yeah. I find that amazing. I do think that's one of the most amazing things about technology nowadays, and a positive example of, you know, social media.
Yeah.
If anything, with YouTube, I know it can be addictive at times, and it's, you know, as a creator as well, you know, not
Yeah.
just as a viewer, but as a creator, you can get really obsessed with the analytics and so on. And so, you know, you have to treat it with with some care. But one
Yeah.
of the biggest positives for me was meeting Paul, meeting Matt, meeting Fred. Those friendships that would have never come around. There's no way we would have bumped into each other, you know.
Mhm.
And you find you're so alike and so compatible. So I'm really grateful for that, and I can see in the case of John and Xander how well they get along. It's amazing, you know, the banter they have for each other, and it's really entertaining to watch. You know, it's amazing, and yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
grateful
think
that
I
it
think they
happened.
call it a bromance, right? In
It's a
their case,
bromance,
they call
right?
it a bromance, right?
Yeah, they're on another level. They're, you know, they're awesome.
yeah. So now, Paul, how often do you guys see each other? Like, have you seen each other or been in the same room together since that Algonquin trip?
No, no, we haven't. No, we know. Well, we're a long distance away from each other, really. I mean, it's it's got to be a 12-hour drive, I should think, to get down to where Eze is. So we've only met. We feel like we know each other really well just from spending. You know, you kind of bond really well out on a trip like this, more than you do, you know, in a normal environment, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, so although I know him really well, what have we met? Probably twice, haven't we? Once in Glen Affric,
Yeah.
and then once again for Canada. But that was the
Canada
second time I
10
met you
days.
when we arrived in Canada, didn't we? So yeah,
Mhm.
2 nights in Scotland, and then 10 nights in
10 minutes. Yeah,
in Canada.
it seems nuts because I know you. I feel like I know you so much more than that. You know?
I know.
Yeah.
But it makes sense if you think about it. Like when you meet someone in, you know, let's say the city, and you go out for a coffee, and you know, you sit down at the table, you have a conversation with distractions, with the phone going off, and, you know, time, like how much time are you actually spending,
Mm,
you know, in quality time to bond with someone, you know. And
yeah.
then you put 1 day of, you know, a short day, 8 to 10 hours, where you have to get the wood, you have to build a tent, the weather is against you, you're getting a little bit lost. You've just, you know, you've been challenged together
Mm,
in a very primitive way, but you've overcome something.
mm,
And I think that's just so much more powerful than than sitting in a coffee shop and talking about something that you might have in common. You just, you cut through the person straight. And and like Paul says, I just feel like I know this guy and so well, and yet it's been so little time since we first met.
Yeah. So let's get a little bit of background on both of you, because like you said, you're like 12 or however many hours apart from each other. You kind of became acquainted through this YouTube platform. Like, Eze, what got you started into the outdoors? Have you always been an outdoorsman, or?
So yeah, it's an interesting question. So the short answer is no. I from a young age, I grew up in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. I was born there. I lived there till I was 9 years old, and I do remember from that age trying to catch birds and setting bird traps, and being a kid, catching frogs and all that kind of stuff. So I did have that playfulness, I think, that most kids have. And then I came to London, and I feel like my my environment changed very, very quickly. And language, I didn't speak a word of English, and I got put into an English school like overnight. So that was a little bit challenging. But no, the outdoors kind of faded. I really enjoyed it from a young age, but it faded. I kind of lost it. And then I've always been a pretty obsessive person. So kind of, if I really like something and I go obsess about it and I want to really do it well, or nothing at all. It either hits or it doesn't. And I've gone through several obsessions, some healthier than others, throughout my lifetime. So for example, when I was 14 years old, I went to the first casino. This is a gambling story, which but I think it's worth sharing, because I think there's strength to be drawn from it. So I went to casino for the first time, fake IDs and all that stuff in Argentina. And this is normal in Argentina.
Don't try this at home.
yeah, exactly. Sorry. So, but anyway, and I lost. Of course, I lost. And I came back home, and I wanted to understand why I had lost. So I started learning about blackjack and probability and the strategy of it, and learning how to card count. So by the age of 16, I knew how to card count and keep track of the deck. And then that evolved into poker, because there was more edge playing poker. So I played a lot of poker for a while, and then that evolved into stock investing and market analysis. So like stock market, this is what I do for a living now. So I manage a portfolio of stocks. And so I was able to improve a little bit the application of the skills,
Right.
And recently, in the last 3 years, when I stopped, I was very addicted to poker. I wanted to play. I wanted to become a professional poker player, and it wasn't a problem of the money. I was winning. It wasn't a money problem. I wasn't losing money, but I was losing my life. I was losing time. All I wanted to do was play poker. You would say, Eze, you want to go out to the cinema, you want to go, and my mind was like, why, when I can be playing poker, I could be making money, and it became sad. It became sad to the point that I had a family intervention at the age of 26, something like that. And they all came together in a room, and they came and they said, Eze, this is a bad thing. You gotta, and I don't know how, I decided I'm going to give my life a shot. I'm going to quit poker for I decided, how long do I need to give my life a proper chance to evolve into something else? I thought that was about 7 to 8 years. So I said, okay, no more poker for 8 years. And I did it. I haven't played since. I haven't looked back. And I don't plan to go back to it, because my life is so much richer now that I've discovered the outdoors. And I think that's important. You gotta, addiction and passion can sometimes get mixed up. You have a lot of drive in you and you want to do things, but you can't get that energy out, or you don't have a way of exercising that creativity or that drive or that thrill-seeking behavior, which is pretty natural, you know. We're all adventurers, and we enjoy that feeling of going into the unknown. And you know, we've been doing that for millions of years, and now we're sitting in a computer in an office, and there's no risk, there's no consequence. It's taken away from us. So I think that there's a lot to be said about kind of how you can treat that, and it's helped me a lot. And I rediscovered outdoors, and I love what it does for me. So highly recommend that.
So now you have a healthy addiction.
Exactly.
Right. Well, congratulations on that. That's
thank you.
Sometimes trying to beat an addiction is not a fun endeavor, and the fact that your family had enough love and care to recognize and intervene, kudos to them.
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff. How about you, Paul? A little bit of background on yourself.
Yeah, so I was brought up in England, Norfolk, Suffolk border, and we had like a large woodland, not by Canada, not Canada size, but for England, we had the Thetford Forest near me, and I was always up there playing as a youngster. We used to build camp shelters, have fires, probably stuff I probably wouldn't really do so much now as an adult. But yeah, we used to go up there, and it was just always in me. I think I loved being outdoors. I wanted to stay outdoors. I think this was quite, from a very young childhood was doing this, and we got a little bit older, and I think most people sort of grew out of it when they got to sort of like teenage years. And I still wanted it, I still really wanted to go outdoors, still wanted to do bushcraft, which wasn't really on my radar. I mean, we didn't have the internet back then, really, in the 90s this was. So I wasn't really aware of other people that were doing this. And I think probably about Ray Mears was probably the first person to come to UK onto the TV screen. I used to watch him and love him and see his canoe journeys. And I think I bought the first book. Well, one of the first books I bought in bushcraft was John Lofty Wiseman's SAS Guide to Survival. I don't know if you've read it. I read it front to back, like over and over when I was younger, and used to like try and do some of the stuff in there, fire starting and camps, and setting up little traps and things, and just playing around. And then, I think 2000 and I always had canoeing because my dad had a canoe that I think he built it with his brother. It was always in our garage, and we used to take it out when we was youngsters as a family. And also my friends, we used to take out on our local river down the Little Ouse, which is in Suffolk, when we was growing up. And then it kind of like took a bit of a back seat, I guess, for a few years. And then 2016 with work, I'd done a canoe trip to Sweden, and we paddled down the River Harken, which was a week, which combined both the canoeing and the bushcraft together. And loved it, fell in love with it. I already had a canoe, but it's kind of, I got a new canoe and just kind of sort of reignited the fire inside me, really. Started doing more trips, more adventures, wanted more and more. Managed to get a posting up here to Scotland, and now the outdoors is on my doorstep, and there's so much to see and explore up here. The story goes on.
Yeah. The whole outdoors, what it does for people is it's amazing. It's I'm like you, I'm addicted to the outdoors myself. Unfortunately, I'm not close enough to the outdoors that I want to be, right? But I'm also addicted to my family too, so that's to stop me from going that way, right? But that's a pretty cool thing. So that's what both of you kind of seek inspiration through all that stuff. You overcome an addiction for it. It's kind of a lifelong love, right? That's awesome. So getting back into now the whole Algonquin thing. Logistically, how did the plans come about for this? If you're all geographically here, there, and everywhere, how did it all meld together that you come here and you're all of a sudden you're going up the 400 or Highway 11, right? Yeah.
Well, it came out of the campfire, really, wasn't it? Around the campfire when we was in Glen Affric, that was when the discussion first started.
Yeah,
and it escalated, didn't it?
And then, it escalated pretty quickly, It escalated pretty quickly, and all of us were kind of really action orientated. So we knew that if we were saying something, it wasn't just, we weren't just saying it. We knew that
wanted it to happen.
We all wanted it to happen really badly. And I think it just became really concrete when we booked the flights. We just agreed on dates, and we bit the bullet. There was COVID going around. We uncertainty if we're gonna fly or not, and it came to a point where we just said, guys, let's just do it. We'll get the flights. And when we did, I think that became just super real. And then we started planning, and one person sends a picture to the group about what gear they're taking, and we all rip him apart for overpacking. And why do you need 2 knives? I mean, ask Paul why he needs 2 knives. And the other guy has, and we're 4 and we have 3 saws between 4 guys, that that kind of thing. So, and it just became more than the trip. It became the whole anticipation of the trip was so great as well, because every time somebody shared an idea or a route proposition, it was a little kind of glimpse of what the trip would be, and a little kick of dopamine in the brain of what was to come. I think there's a lot of beauty in the planning aspect as well, in the anticipation for sure. And that definitely
that
brought
group
us all
was going
together.
crazy, wasn't it? Every night, WhatsApp, there was just message after message. My wife was saying, "Oh, I can't wait for you to just go and get this trip done, so you're not sending photos of what we're taking." And it was good. But
Yeah,
Fred,
it's weird.
Fred had been before, hadn't he? So he knew what he'd been before. He was well rehearsed, wasn't he? So we had a good, wouldn't say guide. He didn't want to call himself a guide, but he'd done it before, so he knew exactly how to go about the permits and the packing, getting there, and where would be good. Fred Cole, the 4th member.
Yeah.
So Fred has been over here before then.
Yeah.
So Fred had been there before. Yeah, he'd done Algonquin, at least he'd done it a few times, I think, hadn't he?
Yeah. So that was definitely super valuable to our group. He knew, like Paul said, how to get the permits, how to, all these little niggling things that you wouldn't know how to do. And sometimes that's all that puts you off, just because you don't know where to, the first step, where to rent the canoe, where to, you don't, and you guys have such an incredible infrastructure for the outdoors that we couldn't understand, because here it's like, you want to go somewhere, you have to drive your canoe on your roof for like 15 hours to try and get somewhere remote. And there you can rent a canoe pretty much anywhere in the whole of Canada, right? It's like, it's just basic. So that's really cool.
It's easy when you know how, isn't it? But until you've done it, it's quite hard to start off doing it. Once you've done it once, you're like, oh, okay.
It's good that you had that like you say, that person that's already kind of done it, because it would have been a real kick in the shorts if you flew all the way down here and got there and said, "What do you mean we had to make reservations?" So most of your planning was done like with each other through texts, emails, I imagine, right?
Yeah, WhatsApp mainly, innit?
WhatsApp group, one group.
Yeah.
And did you all fly out of the same airport, or did you fly from your own local airports?
I flew from London, and I think you guys flew from Glasgow. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you met up in Toronto.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. We landed in Toronto with like one hour difference. And then we rented a car and we drove to Killarney. Was it?
Killarney's on the way.
Yeah. Is that where we drove? I believe. And
that's good enough.
Anyway.
Killarney would be going sort of west.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
Your story though, I'll let you tell it.
No, and we got there, and I was just so eager. I wanted to get straight into the canoe out of the airplane. We needed to do so much still. So we checked into a hotel the first night and went to supermarket and stocked up. And Matt from Adventurers I was sharing a room with him, and Paul was sharing a room with Fred, and they were interconnecting rooms. And I had Matt trying to consolidate about a dozen eggs into this little bottle, and he made this sieve with a siphon or sieve, I don't know, and with this cardboard sieve in the bathroom, and he's breaking eggs, and the egg yolk is spilling everywhere in the bathroom, and we just had this kind of hysterics attack, just laughing. And that was a great kind of moment before the trip, and all the gear everywhere in the covering the nothing fitting anywhere. And
Right. Yeah. As you would expect it would be, right? Because you're all getting your stuff together. Wow. So now you guys get here, you land in Canada, you rent your car, you drive up to Killarney area or whatever, and you're now the next day going to be heading into Algonquin.
Yeah.
Where was your access point?
We had
3, was it? Access point.
Remember the access point, Paul?
Was it 3 or 2? I can't remember now.
I'll check on the map now. But we drove. Yeah.
It was on Magneto one, wasn't it? Whatever that one was.
Got it here.
Yeah, access point 3 on Magneto one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
First day's a bit of a haze, isn't it? I remember.
Yeah.
It was so tired. Like that first day of paddling, we got into camp and you're like, God, I'm really feeling it. It's only like 6, and you think it's actually 2 in the morning, isn't it? So I mean, you wouldn't normally go out paddling 2 o'clock in the morning back home. Yeah, it was a tiresome day. You never really catch up either for the whole trip, because you're quite physical, and also maybe you don't always have the best night's sleep, and that going on and on and on. It's quite a tiresome trip, isn't it? But yeah, access point 3, Magneto one.
yeah, there you go. Quick question going to pop up here from Rob and Sabrina here. They're asking, when you decided you wanted to experience Canada, what was it that made you choose Algonquin out of everything else that Canada has to offer?
Yeah. So, should I take it, Paul?
Yeah, if you got,
Okay, so I think we felt it was the natural starting point, from everything I'd seen. I mean, my first video, one of the first videos I remember was Joe Robinette in Algonquin. I think he did like a 10-day solo, minimal gear or 10 items, I think. And I remember seeing that video about 2.5 years ago. By the way, I've never touched the paddle. 2.5 years ago, I didn't know what a canoe was. I didn't know what a paddle or a canoe was. And I see Joe Robinette there fishing, and the sound of the loons and the sun setting, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. What is this place? Like I have to go there. And it felt like the idea was so far from reality because I had no skills, no paddling skills. It just felt really far away. And maybe fast forward 1.5 years, and I just decided to buy a canoe. I'm like, I'm just going to buy it. I'm going to buy this canoe, and I'm going to learn how to paddle it. How hard can it be? It's a paddle and a canoe. And I went to the canal, to the canals here are like still water. It's not the same as a river or a lake by any means, but I figured that would be enough experience. So I throw the canoe into the canal, and I start paddling from side to side, of course, hitting the side of the canals. You can imagine my level of skill. So I'm like, yep, I'm ready. I'm going on my next camping adventure is around the corner. A week later, I strap the canoe over the car, get to the Lake District, and as I'm bringing the canoe down, I'd never done it before. The canoe falls off the car. I almost destroy my car in the process. And I'm packing my gear into this lake, and I have this trip in mind that I'm going to start in this lake. It's Oldswater. It's about 12-kilometer lake, and it goes into a River Emont, and that river joins another river called the River Eden. And I had this wonderful plan. Pretty much my first time in a canoe. And I go in the canoe. The lake section was fine. I was fishing, catching fish, and as I approach the river, the current starts to really build up, and I'm like, whoa, okay, I don't feel so comfortable anymore because I could feel the power, and the river, I remember, was pretty much in spate. It was flooded. Like, it was the worst possible scenario for starting out was that, the river is flooded. It was over its banks. Like, you could see some people's gardens where, the river was above that, and they had benches, and the river was just halfway up the bench. And it never occurred to me that was a dangerous situation. So I kept going, side to side, hitting trees. I mean, it's a miracle I survived. And after the first day, I stopped somewhere just from pure exhaustion. Like, I think it was just emotional exhaustion of being so scared and so out of control. I was like, I just have to stop before something worse happens. I got tangled on some trees, and the canoe started to roll, and the water came in, and I managed not to go in the water. So I stopped, and I'm lying there in my tent, like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm totally out of my depth, you know? So I ended up bailing on that trip. Not before almost getting taken out the next day by a weir. So we have weirs. I don't know if you have those in Canada, but they're these kind of mini dams, you know? And the water flows over them. They're not natural. So, and the water was super kind of waterfall. I almost got sucked into one. And so I went back home with like the tail between my legs, you know, and back to the drawing board. And but I got back on the horse, you know. I said, okay, let's try something else, something more, a little more simple, an easier river. And you know, you learn the hard way sometimes, and those are the best lessons sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hey, everybody's got to learn somewhere. And you know what? By the way, I still do that too. When bumper
Side to side. I still do that too.
Yeah. But the whole thing though of Algonquin over anywhere else in Canada, was it because Fred, was Fred the one that said, hey, we should go to Algonquin, or was it just because that's the Canadiana type of thing to do?
I think Fred probably had a big influence on it, didn't he? I think he probably thought it'd be suitable for a first, definitely a first venture into it. Yeah,
he recommended it for sure. He said, you know, it's a good starting point, and it totally was the perfect starting point.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was beautiful. Lovely place when
it was beautiful, and then also it wasn't too difficult or too dangerous. You know, we were never really in danger at any point. So I think it was the perfect starting point to give us confidence to now go to something more wild and more remote and a little bit more challenging.
Cool. So now you guys get to Algonquin Park, and you obviously you must have had your canoes dropped off at the access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because you rented one car.
Yeah,
I would love to see that car with everything just loaded in there, right?
Yeah,
rammed.
Yeah, it was tight.
Paddle hitting your head on every speed bump, you know.
Yeah. So now you guys get to the access point, and you're ready to put in for what are your first thoughts? What are your realizations when you get there and you look and you're at the access and you're looking out over the water? Like, is the heart just a racing, or Paul?
Just it all come through to fruition, hadn't it? All the planning, all the waiting. You know, we'd been planning it for almost a year, hadn't we? And it was just good to be there. It's like, wow, now it's happening. Yeah, and just it was definitely excitement, definitely. Yeah.
And by this time, you guys are still you're acquainted, but you still don't know each other, right? You're still.
We feel we know each other pretty well. We do really, don't we?
Yeah, we did.
Like we all, yeah.
It felt like we did.
I certainly didn't feel like I was going with with strangers, that's for sure. Although it was the second time we met, but we'd been, communicating the whole year long, hadn't we? Really, like through WhatsApp and a few little Skype meetings as well, didn't we? So, or Zoom meetings.
Right, but Matt was the newest to the group at that point.
Yeah. Matt was the only one who had not met Paul and Fred. So I was lucky because I had met everybody. I had met Matt independently and Paul and Fred independently. So I knew them, and it was all good, you know. But I think what Paul said about the planning process, and you bond so much just over the planning and decision making and logistics and all that. You learn so much about people, how we have a problem here, or sharing this, or
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just gonna pop up a quick comment here by as well. He says, when you hear an answer like that, that's what makes it realize a lot of Canadians take for granted what we have and when it comes to conservation, right?
Yeah.
Because somebody else alluded to it up above here about a lot of Canadians consider Algonquin Park to be like a Tim Hortons drive-through type of thing, right?
Right.
Because it is so well used. Like you mentioned in the green room that you could tell that it wasn't the pristine wilderness because everything seemed very manicured. The portages are manicured. Everything is signed. You have the
Right.
campsites that have, the makeshift benches and the tables and all that. So because it gets used so often, but yet Canadian or Algonquin Park still holds that magical feeling, of true wilderness, for probably even more so for those that don't have access to it, obviously, right? So
Totally.
100%. Yeah. I mean, compared to what we have in the UK, I mean, it's off the scale, and we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't anywhere in the UK that's not been deforested and replanted pretty much at some point. We've got very,
Right.
very few untouched wilderness. So, and the scale of it out there as well.
I was going to ask that, like, in comparison, what it's like over in the UK, because I watch a bunch of your videos, Paul, and Matt as well. I watch your videos and I see these areas that I'm looking at them and I'm thinking to myself, man, this is nice. Like, they're coming over here. I want to go over there and check that out.
Yeah. Oh, we have there's beautiful areas, but they just don't go on for the distance. They usually end. I mean, the Scottish Highlands is absolutely, it's a beautiful area, but all the trees. I mean, it would have been covered in trees pretty much at one time, and now you've just got pockets of trees and forests, where we've just deforested it, over the centuries, and what's left now really is really a shell of what it should be.
Totally. So I think about 0.5% of the total land in the UK is still considered wild. 0.5% versus Norway, that's like 67%. And then Canada, I don't know, but it must be around that number. It must be a huge number in Canada still. And just to put the UK into perspective, how small the UK is. So you can never be at any spot. You pick any random spot in the UK on a map, and it will never be more than 7 kilometers from the nearest road.
Is that right, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's really strange, but it gives you a very good idea of how remote you can be in the UK. Having said that, being 6-7 kilometers away in the middle of the highlands, up on a peak, on a really windy, crazy day, cold day, it's still super dangerous, right? It doesn't mean that you're always safe. You can, that could a 7 kilometer in tough terrain could take you 5 hours. So. But still, it gives you an idea of, and then you have, Jim Baird, 250 kilometers from the nearest town, and I'm like, wow, that's just incredible, and he's fishing for Arctic grayling, and I'm like, this is crazy. But you guys have an absolute gem of a country, like, and it's hard to appreciate your own country, it just, you're born with it, so you don't contrast it. It's very easy to take it for granted, but it's pristine. And even, to be honest, even Algonquin, with the number of visitors that it gets, I mean, that's the only way to preserve it that way. The campsites are set, and the latrines and all that, because it's the only way to preserve it, right? There's so many people go through it, and even with the number of people, we still found it to be pretty pristine. I mean, we didn't find rubbish anywhere. It was very rare to see any sign of littering. We loved it.
Yeah, I think the route that you took on too was a route that was a road less traveled in Algonquin, let's say. You weren't on the Highway 60 corridor where you're playing bumper boats, or you're tripping over people on portages. The route that you did is sought after by a lot of people because it's a little more remote in Algonquin, right? So that was a good thing for sure. Yeah.
There was a good chunk of days where we saw no one. It wasn't really until we come back into McIntosh, I think it was, and on that portage. In fact, it was the portage trail on the Petawawa, I think, as we came back on that final day that we actually started seeing people, really, wasn't it?
We had these like 3 or 4 magical days that we didn't see anyone.
That's nice, right?
It just feels incredible. It's something so simple, but it just feels like you have the whole Algonquin, the whole park to yourself, right? And it's your own world. And then as soon as you see somebody, it just pops that kind
Yeah.
of bubble, right? And
Yeah.
but I mean, it's okay. It's normal, right?
Don't want to
And
share
believe
it.
it or not, it's getting harder and harder, even in Canada, to be able to experience that where you see absolutely nobody on your trip.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I did a trip that I thought we were going to see nobody, and it's like, you're paddling. It's like, wow, there is a cottage on this lake. What the heck, right?
Yeah.
Like a cottage on a lake that's 30 kilometers long. It's like, well, you
So
really don't
disappointed.
expect. Yeah, because when I get out myself personally, I like to get out for the solitude and not see anybody.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's my total disconnect time. Just to get out there and just get away from it all, and that means people. And that's one of the things I do like about solo paddling is I even get that further disconnect, from having a paddle partner in your canoe or a couple guys, a couple of your buddies bickering back and forth over something silly, or you know what I mean? It's like just paddle, get away from them, right? So that was a double blade thing.
Yeah.
I
I do enjoy that as well. The solitude of the paddling. It's this, you create this space for yourself as well, especially on a multi-day trip, and your mood starts to change and evolve. You go from maybe the initial high of the trip to like loneliness lows, you start to get a little bit low at points, and then you find your own strength. You have to generate that strength for yourself, because you're the only person, and you can't be in a bad mindset on your own. It becomes dangerous, So you recognize that, that you have to be on it. And it's amazing all the strength that comes out of that. And at the end, I find it's the most rewarding ones for me are the solo ones. For sure. The one where there's the most growth and most experience.
Yeah. So going back to your video that you just put out there, the movie, and it kind of refreshed, because when you put out a video a week, it gets broken. You forget things from the beginning. But watching your 2 hour and whatever minute video there, you know what? It was great, because it's like watching you. And when you first got on the water, you sort of did that thing where you just sat there and you took it in and you. I think that's the effect that getting out there into such a nice area for anybody for the first time. I bet you every one of us does that. You get in a canoe, and before you even start your first stroke, you push off and you just take it in, right? Yeah.
This is something about the canoe that's so beautiful, the way of travel. It's just like a meditation, really. You're the stroke, the water, and it's repetitive, and you get in this zone, and everything around you. It's beautiful. I'm so lucky to have discovered it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So when you guys, this is jumping ahead, but when you guys get back home, you all have all this YouTube, or all this footage that you want to turn into YouTube video. Was it kind of a race to see who's going to get their content out first?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I didn't feel like that.
No, I didn't feel that way either. No.
I was kind of keen, because obviously you just got back. You kind of want to reminisce of what you've just had. I think we all said, I remember actually, I think the last day we said we'll probably give it a week or so before we even look at anything. I reckon we was all up the next morning missing Algonquin, going, looking at, yeah, that was great, trying to start and put something together. It was good.
What makes you guys want to share your adventures on YouTube, though? Like, is there? Did you get into YouTube for a reason? Because I believe, Eze, you said any money you make, you do something special with it.
Yeah, so I try. So I'm donating the money that all the income from YouTube, I'm donating to plant trees with the Eden reforestation program. Just something to do. I'm not going to live from YouTube. I have 4 kids, and I have to definitely work in my full-time job. So if I can use these, a little bit of the proceeds, whatever, all of them, but whatever this generates, to give something back to nature, and inspire others to consider doing a little bit too, I think it's a win. It's I just want this to be there for our kids and their kids, and when you see it, it's it's the saying, you can't protect what you don't know, and it's true. You can't protect it. You have to get out there. You have to experience it to understand how magical it really is. to then care for it enough to action, you know. Yeah, so I got lost in the question there. I'm sorry, but
Yeah,
I gave you some
I'm just asking
philosophical,
what
you
makes you
know.
guys want to do YouTube, why you want to share these things, right? And the fact that like you're obviously not doing it for the money. You guys are doing it just for the love of what you're doing and sharing it, right? Is it like an inspiration thing to share your videos, Paul?
I don't really know why I do it, to be honest. I think on this one, I even considered as not filming this one at all, because I wanted to enjoy it, and sometimes the filming can distract from the enjoyment a little bit. It does, when you're seeing something and then you think, oh, I better capture this on camera, and it can ruin the moment sometimes. So I did consider on this one not filming before I knew the camera's out, and I was just filming everything. but I enjoy filming. And I've always enjoyed a little bit of photography, and it just goes hand in hand, really. I figured if I'm gonna take a picture, I may as well stick it on record and just do a bit of videoing as well. And I got back and thought I'd see what I had. I was expecting to do maybe one half an hour video, just bits, but I had so much footage when I got back. I thought I've got more than that here. So it's been end up doing little short episodes. I think over about 8 episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, when I record, I'm not the best filmmaker. I'm not the best storyline maker when it comes to shooting my trips either. I just do it because it's capturing the memories of the trip, right?
Yeah,
you can look back on these videos and you go, darn, I remember that. That was cool, man. We had such a good night sitting by that campfire. Remember that story, right? Yeah. So let's talk about that. We've got three content creators creating a video on a trip of a lifetime, many might say, and then one guy just doing photography. Like, what are the dynamics there? Trying to keep each other out of your shot when you're trying to capture that cool shot. Like, what's the dynamics?
That was pretty funny. I think Fred was very patient with us. He was probably in the short answers, he was very patient with us because we were messing around and setting up the camera and going back for the canoe and then putting the canoe down, and but I don't think it ever irritated him. I think we were all just so happy to be there, and we didn't have any fights or any conflicts at all.
Everybody knew what everyone was trying to film it. We was trying to be considerate to everyone, weren't we?
Yeah.
And, we have a lot of the same, a lot of the same shots end up occurring, don't they? Because he's sticking his camera there and everyone puts their camera there, and it's all, we've recorded that moment then all together, haven't we? So,
I do remember one shot though. Editing was a nightmare. Like I'm filming the fire, and Fred's like, and then every time the spark, and editing, it was a nightmare. I think I spent 20 minutes on like a 3-second shot just trying to figure out how to extract audio from somewhere else and that's so funny. But but it didn't get in the way, and we were all mindful of the progress we had to make that day. You naturally fall behind. I feel like I was probably last along a large proportion of the trip, in the last position, and I was happy being last. I didn't feel like I had anybody behind me, or and I could judge by the distance from the next guy how badly or not I was doing. And I think it's interesting. Paul said about the filming taking away from the moment, and I can totally agree with that. But I can also agree with what you said, Dennis, about capturing that memory. And I find myself watching my own video sometimes just because I want to feel that moment again, so it's kind of in the moment when you're filming. A lot of the times you're like, why the hell am I doing this? It's like the shots and going there to set the camera, all it's gonna be terrible, it's gonna be boring, and then you come home and you're like, okay, that's quite nice, and I'm glad I filmed, and but I think it's I don't know, I should try. I've been saying I should do a trip without filming, and I haven't been able to do that, so that's not sure that's a good sign.
But
That's
the problem, isn't it? Once you start, you're going out and you're thinking, you feel compelled to film it, don't you? It's almost Sometimes it actually puts me off going out. I think sometimes as well.
Yeah.
Where I would be doing more trips, I think, if I go out, I'll film it. I think, can I be bothered to film it? And then it puts you off it sometimes. It's good to do some trips. I've been out a few times without any cameras or anything, and it's just you need one every now and then. I think definitely.
Yeah, I've been out on 2 trips last summer that I didn't record, and I kind of get home and you go, man, I wish I did. I wish I had my camera to catch this, and it's like I actually had cameras with me, but they just stayed in the bag. So basically, I took them on a trip, carried them everywhere, and didn't even pull the things out. Right? So, yeah, that's kind of crazy. Somebody was wondering about your filming equipment. What are you guys using for shooting?
So I'm using an iPhone 11, I think, an iPhone Pro 11 or 12. I'm not sure, one of those. And a GoPro 8. That's it.
Yeah. No, you're getting good footage with that too.
Yeah, it's really. I think the iPhone does really, really well. I used a really good tripod. So if you can set up the image to be still, you can get beautiful shots. The downside of filming with your iPhone is you're risking losing your phone the whole time, because it's and I have lost my phone. It cost me a lot. I was in the river. It was winter. I capsized. I hit the one tiny tree poking out of the river, one tiny in 100-kilometer range. That was probably the only chance to capsize, and I hit it straight on, and I fell in the water. It was plain winter, 4-degree water, 4 Celsius, and my tripod and my phone went plop, and
Yeah.
So it has its downsides.
And what about yourself, Paul? What are you using?
So I have a GoPro. I think mine's a 9, but I also have a mirrorless camera, a Canon M50, with a few different lenses which I take with me as well. Which is quite, it's quite nice. It's a small, compact. It's a lot smaller than a normal DSLR, so it's quite portable, and it gives you a nice bit of zoom, if you like, sort of capture a bit more wildlife. I didn't actually take a tripod on this last one with me because I didn't want to carry it. I don't know whether that was a mistake or not. So all my footage was handheld.
Can I borrow your tripod?
He was. We had a deal going on that he could borrow my tripod, and I think I could borrow your twig stove, or what was it?
Sorry. Yeah. They didn't have to use it a whole lot though, did we? Didn't use a twig stove really much at all, because every time we get to the campsite, there's a fireplace there pretty much. I think we only used it once, in fact, didn't we?
Yeah.
That's cool. So let's talk about some of the highlights that you guys encountered on the trip there. We'll do that, and then we'll take a quick little commercial break, and then we'll get some people in to maybe ask some questions. But what were the highlights? What did you get most out of it, Paul, when you did this trip?
The highlight. Well, we've had this discussion before, and we were saying every day had something really special about it. Whether it was a beautiful sunrise or a sunset or a piece of wildlife or a swim in the lake. Probably, I think my favorite day, so much seemed to happen in such a short space of time when we stayed at Grassy Bay. We was out on the water. We had a really nice, beautiful sunset. It was so peaceful. You just had geese quacking or honking in the distance. And then the next morning we had those 5 otters that came out of the water next to us, and they popped up and they was all playing next to us. They did like a whole lap of us. They went back into the woodland behind us, didn't they, around the campsite, and then reappeared, and you could just see them the whole time. And they went right past Fred and his canoe, and I love otters anyway. I'm a bit of a wildlife fanatic, I guess. But seeing 5 of them as well. I've seen them in the UK. You'll see 1 or 2, but to see 5 together all playing, that was probably a highlight for me, I think.
That was a magical moment. I mean, we came off the water at about just as the sun had set, and all the colors are changing, and the sky is just completely on fire. Like reds and purples, and through the trees, and the reflection of the water completely still, absolute mirror image. So you can see the sky in the water, in the sky, and we're coming off it, and I think we were all on the water, but individually, and we were all experiencing it. You could you knew where the other guy's mind was. And it was just a moment of like, wow. Like I remember getting goosebumps on the water. and getting off the water as well, and Paul being on the verge of tears. Sorry about it. But it's okay. It's okay to show it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's all right, man. That's all right.
It was super emotional, man. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
That
I was
was
very
for
tired
sure.
as well. That's what it was. Tired. Yeah.
Jet lag, right? But day
Oh,
9, day 8,
impact, yeah.
jet lag. Come on. And that was one. And then for me, catching on, I think day 2, catching that brook trout was awesome. I loved that. And then eating that, sharing that fish with the boys, and in this really tiny campsite, super berry, like we felt a bear is going to come out any moment, you know.
Yeah,
it
there was bears scattered all around the whole campsite.
Super, like that was the place where the bear was going to come out, you know, for sure. And that was a beautiful moment. And then the banter. Oh, a really funny one was when we were on Macintosh Lake, I think, and we were on this island. Late in the day, we made a crossing when the wind picked up, and we waited and we made the crossing, and we needed firewood. And there was, being an island, naturally there was no firewood at all left on the island. And Paul and I find this slanting tree that is slanting maybe 45 degrees out into the water, and we have the brilliant idea that we're gonna cut this tree somehow, and you know, so we start with our tying the base of the tree with the rope, and you know, you cut, I pull the rope, you know, and within 3 seconds the plan went out the window.
It wasn't a great idea, but it was the only deadwood on the whole of the island, wasn't it? There was, we looked around, there was everything else.
And then Paul like the saw like kind of spits on him, you know, and then he lets go because he doesn't want to get caught, and the saw falls in the water, you know. So now all of a sudden we have no tree, we're losing our saw. And then I started laughing out of nerves, you know. It's just like a funny, nervous laugh. I couldn't stop laughing at how everything kept, you know, the errors kept getting exponential, you know. You could feel yourself making more and more errors. And we rescued the saw, and I almost fell off a cliff there. There was a hole behind me, and I was laughing and walking back, and I didn't see. And I fell back, and, you know, Paul literally had to grab me with his hand, like kind of Indiana Jones' last moment, you know. And it was just so funny. And those kind of moments are just really funny, you know. And
then we had the beautiful night. That was when the stars came out, wasn't it, for the first night as well on that island. This, you know,
with the thunderstorm in the background,
a thunderstorm in the distance, and the stars were just, you know, there was just so many of them, weren't there? So many of them, yeah, on that little island.
Every night, honestly, had its thing. Even when we were getting rained on, there was nowhere I'd rather be.
That's all right. You know what? I'm gonna take a quick little commercial break. I just posted a link in the chat for anybody that might want to come on and ask Eze and Paul a question. And we'll get to that right after the break here. So you guys hold tight, grab yourselves another beverage or get rid of one, and we'll see you shortly here in a moment.
Okay. Thank you. We'll speak soon.
There's nothing like being out there. For over 50 years, we've been connecting people with nature by building classic Canadian canoe designs using the best materials available. We built a reputation on durable, dependable canoes that allow you to focus on what's important, whether that's unplugging in remote wilderness, spending quality time with your favorite people, or nailing the perfect line. Visit novacraft.com to find the perfect canoe for you and locate your nearest authorized dealer.
Tonight's episode of CanoeHound's Outdoor Adventure Show is brought to you by OTG Meals, fresh, freeze-dried, small batch meals made for people on the go. Algonquin Outfitters, with 4 key locations in and around Algonquin Park to serve your backcountry needs. Kid Products, stick stoves and reflector ovens proudly made in Canada. And Novacraft Canoes, connecting you with nature in Canadian-made canoes since 1970. Well, welcome back to the second half of the show. As I mentioned a few moments ago, I posted a link in the chat if anybody would like to pop in and ask a question of the boys or share a little story or let them know how much you enjoyed their videos. Please, by all means, do. But let me bring Eze and Paul back into the panel there. Hey, fellas, welcome back. Yeah, so we were covering what you guys really got out of this here, like all these special moments. What was there anything that disappointed?
Disappointed? No, I don't. I think the short answer is no. Maybe I was under the illusion that it would have been a little bit wilder in the sense of not seeing human activity. I mean, maybe it's being a bit picky, because we had an amazing time and we didn't see that many people, but I don't know. I felt a little too comfortable. If that's, I'm not sure how to describe it, but I wanted to feel a little more exposed.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I could see that being taken that way for Algonquin Park.
Yeah.
Some people see it as a real wilderness destination, which it is.
Yeah.
But there are ways, like you say, it's so mainstream, it's so manicured, as you put it. The sites, the portages, everything being marked, right? It's hard to get lost in Algonquin, I would think.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the only. I mean, and it was a minor one. It wasn't. It felt wild, but I wanted more wilderness. More.
We had some pretty tough days, though, didn't we? We did have some tough days. We had that last day with all the. In fact, we kind of made it a bit shorter, didn't we? In fact, that grassy bay, we wasn't really meant to be there, was we? We had that. We kind of skipped forward a little bit. Otherwise, that last day would have been.
So we had 3 day. We had initially planned to stay in Big Trout Lake for 3 nights, and then we kind of realized that we were pushing it on the way out, like really leaving no margin for weather or anything to go wrong in the back half of the plan. So at least we decided to push a little bit on the third day of Big Trout. We decided to do the whole of the Big Trout Lake and then into White Trout and into Grassy Bay, and that's where we found the beautiful campsite. And but the last day for sure was we had like 10 portages or something, or 10 portages and 10 lakes, and I don't remember how many kilometers it was, but it was quite a tough day.
Yeah, it was a big day.
But I enjoy that. I do also enjoy that. I like
feeling.
That's
what I'm saying. You want that. You need that to be satisfied in a trip. A bit of hardship, didn't you? That's what we wanted. Maybe more moose. So I went off on a bit of tangent there, didn't we?
Yeah.
More moose would have been nice. Yeah, we saw the one, didn't we? But we was hoping we might.
You seen more moose than I've seen in the last 10 years.
Oh, really?
I get myself out there. It's like, I think the guys I canoe with, they just yak too much, right? And it scares them all away. I don't know. In all reality, I have no idea what it is, but I just, I don't get to see them.
No.
So,
Oh, that's
that is what it is. Yeah, no, you guys faced a lot of bad weather up there too, right?
Yeah, we had some thunderstorms, didn't we?
Yeah.
That was good.
I think it didn't feel. I saw a lot of the comments were like, "Wow, really bad weather," and I think we lived in the UK too much to like it didn't feel like terrible weather to us.
No, I thought it was good on the whole, wasn't it? I mean, we didn't. Did we even get rained on the water? I don't think we did. We got rained on in camp, but I don't think we get rained on once on the water.
Only I did, because I went out straight when that was my fault, but.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah.
So we were in Big Trout Lake, and Matt and I are trying to go fishing and trolling in the middle of the lake, and I see Matt saying, "Turn back, like come back," and pointing to the sky, like this massive thundercloud in the sky. I'm like, "It's fine, it's gonna blow over," So Matt's like, "Whatever, leave this guy in the middle." He goes back to camp, and I'm like, I gotta keep fishing. I want to outfish Matty. That's a really important thing in the trip. So yeah, needless to say, the thundercloud completely rolled in, and I got completely killed. I mean, it started raining cats and dogs sideways, wind, everything kicked up, and got into camp super drenched. But it was still fun.
Yeah. In Algonquin or any northern lake, you could always see the storms coming. I mean, you usually have time to prepare, unless you're on the water.
You would think.
And hear them as well. The noise. It rumbled on, didn't it? And it just spreads.
Yeah,
you can hear it echoing around the lake you're on, and then maybe even the next lake and the lake after that, and it just rumbles on for the longest time, didn't it? Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
These guys are on a roll tonight, eh?
Yeah.
The question for you there: are you guys planning on coming back to experience another park, like say Wabankimi, Killarney?
Yeah. We really want to, of course. Yeah, we'd be back every month if we could afford it.
Yeah.
Well, I would.
Yeah, me too. 100%. There's so much to see in Canada. I mean, scratching the surface, and Wabankimi for sure. I really would like to go. There's so much to see. I really want to see as much as I can.
Yeah, you could spend. I mean, you could live there and spend your whole life there canoeing and still not even come close to it.
I live here and I try to get out 3 or 4 times a summer, and I've barely a drop in a bucket.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
and even like John from Lost Lakes. I mean, he said it. He's making this his mission to he wants to see the whole of Ontario. And really like find all the spots and and there's so much to see. I mean, and that's just Ontario.
Yeah, well, they say Ontario has like over 100,000 lakes or something. It's
wow.
The glaciers really left a lot of divots for us, and that's a good thing. Thanks to the glaciers, right? That's all good there. Jay's way, he's asking, was it your first time camping in bear territory?
Yeah, it was for me.
Yeah.
No, well, I'd been camping in Florida. They've got black bears down there. So I'd done that before on my own. That was solo. But but I think they seem more. I seem more aware of it. I think in Canada, I don't know if they've got greater numbers in Canada. I don't know, but it didn't really. I think if there'd been grizzlies about, maybe I might have been a little bit more concerned. But it didn't really. The thought of a black bear didn't really keep me up at night. I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I don't know if it was because definitely the company helps being with 3 other guys.
Oh yeah, I'm sure if you was on your own, it might be a bit different.
On your own, I'm sure your senses come, that much more. But I wasn't worried either. I kind of wanted to see one. I really wanted to see one.
Not too.
They're nice to see from a distance, right? If you can see them walking on a shore, swimming across a lake, but you don't want to see them walking into your campsite. That's for sure.
Yeah,
and that is a definite threat in Algonquin because so many of them become so acclimated to humans, right? And an easy food source. So, consider yourselves lucky because I know a few people that have been in Algonquin and they've had encounters, and they're never fun. It's scary.
Yeah. We had a big decision, didn't we, about whether we was going to take bear spray or not. That was in the shop. That was because we all thought, we'll all take it. And then we got there and was like, I don't know, $60 now. We will leave it there.
No, you're right. Our life is is not worth $60.
That's what we valued.
We made it was strange. I don't know about the other guys, but we all I think we all felt the same way. I felt like, first of all, with the bear spray, that I would absolutely have to have it on me, So first, if it's going to be effective, you have to have it on you. And I didn't see myself having it on me the whole trip, like with the guys. And this could be, it's not advice by any means, but and then also the actual spraying of it with the wind. If you can't be upwind. If you're spraying upwind, it can come back, and it just didn't seem like it was necessary. But and we were 4.
I felt like there was bigger risks,
Yeah.
As we discussed, the main risks are really like falling over and breaking a leg on a portage or hypothermia is much more likely really than being attacked by a bear, I think.
Here we go. The
Exactly.
show just went full circle. Besides, Paul had 2 knives with him anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Oh,
one in my life jacket and one in my bag.
If a bear comes, everybody hide behind Paul. He's going to save us.
Oh
That's
man.
funny. So, let's talk a bit about your gear. You mentioned that you actually rented canoes because you can't fly them over. But was there any equipment that you didn't bring because you couldn't because of like weight restrictions or restrictions on the flight, or were you really well equipped for this whole thing?
We wanted to go lightweight, didn't we? I think, well, if anything, what took us from, kept us from taking more stuff was just being able to do the portage in 2 trips. That was the limiting factor, really. Because as far as flights, you can take knives and axes on a flight, in your hold luggage. Just not really, down below in the jet, it's not a problem. So that wasn't really a limiting factor from that. The only thing you can't take is like gas, I guess.
Yeah.
You can't take your gas canisters. And there was one lucky guy who went there at the end of the portage, and our access point, who ended up with like 4 tins of gas that he barely used,
and like 9 lighters and stuff.
Yeah, it's like, we're flying today. Here you go.
Yeah.
It's like,
Because you can't bring it back with you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so just give it to you. Quite great.
Yeah, we took a we tried to keep it as light as possible. I was hammering the guys. I think
you wanted to go really, really light, didn't you?
I wanted to go to the extreme of light because I don't know. I one thing I've learned from my expeditions and adventures is usually the less I have, the happier I feel with my stuff. It becomes a burden to look after it, when you the last thing you want is to just be like, where is this stuff, I hate feeling like that. It's like it really is a burden for me. So I wanted to take as little as possible. And even to the food, I literally had my last meal on that night, and the only thing left over were about 2 breakfast bars for the next day. Like everything was really kind of measured. And I was able, on the last day, I was able to single portage. So single carry, sorry. I was able to single carry for a lot of the trip, and some of the portages were like 1.6 1.5 kilometers or 1.2 or whatever they were. And that you save a lot because you're saving instead of going 3 times, instead of 3 kilometers, if it's a 1 kilometer portage, you're just doing it 1 kilometer. So you're saving 2 kilometers of walking. That's a lot of time. And it gave me opportunity to be first in the pack, which was a rare occasion for me. And I got to go on the Petawawa River on my own and see things first and have a little bit of quiet time, which is also nice. But I don't know if it's possible to. Well, it is possible to single carry, but for 10 days, I'm not sure. It's you really have to reduce your kit to like bare minimum.
Yeah, it's a little easier at the end of the trip, once the food is gone and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Did you guys plan any meals together, or was it everybody was spending for their own food?
Yeah.
We absolutely should have done. I think it definitely would have made sense to cook.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
I think you was down the freeze-dried route, weren't you? So you had every meal was sorted and pre-packaged.
Yeah.
So
I
mean,
didn't
is
want
the
to
lightest
spend
way to do it, isn't it? Definitely by far. Whereas
the
my stuff
easiest.
was a little bit more, the easiest and lightest as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas mine was a little bit more cookie. I enjoy cooking, I enjoy the outdoors cooking and
Well, Paul, you come canoe with me, and I'll pass on the reins to you. You can do all the cooking. I have a tendency to do most of the cooking when we're on our trips, and I'm trying to break my canoe partners into, let's all fend for ourselves. Let's all do our thing. I'll carry my Ursack with my food or my little barrel of my food, and I'm happy. Right? Yeah. I know what I can eat.
Yeah, exactly. I think you can take two approaches, right? The kind of sharing approach. And then you get, if it's done properly, it can be really, really effective because you can have one big pot to boil a lot of water at once, and one guy's boiling the water, that guy's getting wood, the other guy's setting up a tarp, one communal tarp, one communal pot, one axe, you can gain a lot of efficiency, but it requires a ton of coordination, right? And organization. And then if one guy forgets that one axe or that one item, you're kind of screwed. And in the food as well, I'm plant-based. I don't eat meat, eggs, fish. I eat a little bit of fish sometimes, maybe once every 10 days or so. But so we all have different kind of dietary preferences. So it became clear that I think the best way was to go individual.
We did also plan as well on doing one night. We had a layover. We had a day where we wasn't doing any portage and big trout, and we was planning on going our own separate ways and all doing a solo camp on big trout. But it just didn't work out that way because the layover day turned into an actual travel day, didn't it? Because the weather was looking not great, and the amount of distance we still had to cover, it would have been a struggle. So we ended up sacrificing our solo days because we was each going to do go off to our own little bit, do our own little route, maybe a little circle around big trout, do a solo camp in the middle of it all, just to experience it, a little bit of solo on your own and what it feels like. But unfortunately,
we didn't get a great idea. I never thought of doing that when I do my big trips with the boys, to say, hey, you know what, let's do a layover day, and I'm going off on my own. See you later.
Yeah.
You're not going to let the chef go off, man. No way.
Unfortunately. Yeah. Any real mishaps on a trip? Anything happen that could have been a really dangerous situation, or injuries or anything like that?
No, you falling down the hole, maybe. I guess that was probably the closest.
That falling in the hole was a little bit. Could have gone.
We had a bit of. I had a bit of a wobble in my canoe, didn't I? I can't remember what lake that was now. Where the wind picked up and there was a few waves on the water. And I can't remember. I was fiddling with something, and then the wind came at the same time as a wave, and it's just enough to unnerve you, when it's raining and you're in the middle of a lake. We did get rained on that time, didn't we? In the middle of the lake, come to think of it.
Oh yeah.
But and I nearly went over that time. Well, I say nearly went over. It wasn't that close, but it was.
No, you nearly went over, and you were lucky I was by your side. I saved you, man.
But that was a bit of realization that you wouldn't want to dump it out there. I mean, we were together, so we could have rescued it. It would have been a bit of a disaster on a cold day.
Well, that's good. If you have no mishaps, that takes that whole realm of danger out of it, right? So that's cool. Evan Lefebvre wants to know: did us Canadians live up to the niceness stereotype?
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Love you guys so much.
absolutely they did. Everybody we met was really, really friendly, weren't they? But we didn't get to experience much in the way of Canadian culture, did we? I mean, we landed, we went to the shop, so we met some people there. We slept, we drove to our access point, we did our canoe trip, we come back to the access point, and then the day we got to our egress point, we flew home, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we didn't experience a whole lot of culture, did we? Really?
Yeah. But a little bit a couple of restaurants, we had a couple of meals we had, but all the interactions for sure were
everything
were so nice. Really, you guys are awesome for sure.
Yeah, us Canadians are nice. We'll bump into you and we'll say, "Oh, sorry," right? Or you bump into us and we'll say it too, right? That's funny. Yeah. So, what was your timeline? You guys, when you did come off the water, did you come off as expected and everything just?
Yeah.
So
our last night we was only 2 or 3 kilometers away from, just south of Magnetawan Lake. We stayed on Little Eagle Lake, which is only one portage. So we knew that we could be there for that evening, because we'd have to get on the flight the next day. So it was just a quick paddle and a portage, another little paddle, and then we was back in the car and straight to the airport almost, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
That
was a contrast.
Yeah.
All right. So sounds like you guys had a fun time. It's the best part, like some of the campfire stories. You care to share any of the good campfire stories that might have come about?
We had nothing major, but on one instance, we were chilling in the fire, and then Matt was walking close to around, and he steps on his crock, and it makes like this fart noise, and and we're like, Matt, we heard you, and he's like, no, it was the crock, and he's like, here, I'll show you, and he's trying to replicate it, and it's not happening. We're like, come on, Matt, it's just funny stuff like that, and
guy stuff, right?
So much more happens than we could ever capture on camera, unless you had it running 24/7, you're always going to miss stuff. But there was lots
Um,
of moments, lots of good moments, lots of good bonding, weren't there? Really,
yeah.
And often, I mean, filming at night doesn't really work particularly well unless you've got really good gear. So, like as soon as that sun went down, it was good in some ways. You might get a few little campfire scenes of us like messing around trying to warm our feet on the fire or whatever. But most of the time, we would just, that was our time, really, I guess, wasn't it? Largely,
Yeah. Ellen Bierhoff is saying Eze has some really interesting looking pouch meals.
Thank you.
You said you're more of a plant-based eater. What type of foods
Yeah.
were you actually eating out there?
Yeah, so I ate really well. I was super satisfied, and the weight ratio to energy was just amazing. So I had one of the meals was a like a pasta with like a soya mince. So it's like a pasta bolognese, but with like a mince, with a soya mince and tomato sauce, really rich. That's like 600 calories and really filling. So that was nice. I had like a granola, like a freeze dried granola with rice milk. So you just put hot water and then it comes, to life with the rice milk and strawberries. It had strawberries and blueberries in it as well. I also dehydrated a little bit of Beyond Meat mince with some black beans. So it's like a kind of vegan taco sort of thing. And I was using that to put into a wrap and then just eat the wrap. Eating a lot of peanut butter as well. Peanut butter is like my thing because it's got a ton of protein, a huge amount of calories for the weight. So that's like an awesome go-to. And then, I had this nettle curry, which was okay. I had only one, and there's this kind of nettle curry with vegetables. I had a red curry as well. I had, I really liked them. They were good, but enough for 10 days, and you don't want to see them ever again, kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
My favorite one has become my most hated one now.
Yeah. And did you guys bought most of your food here? Like, or did you bring? You said you dehydrated a little bit of stuff, but did you?
Yeah, I came in with everything that I needed. I was ready to go to the water, and I didn't need to buy anything from the supermarket. Maybe a lighter and a little bit of fresh fruit or something, but that was it. I didn't need anything. But the other guys did. I think you guys shopped around.
Yeah, I was probably like 50-50. I had a shopping list. I brought a lot of dried stuff over myself, and then when I got there, just the fresh like veg and fruit, really. Yeah, some maple syrup. Peanut butter, yeah. So we all loaded up on that, didn't we? Then I think I bought some powdered egg as well for some pancakes, didn't I? Just bits and bobs, really.
You know what? There's some really good freeze dried meals out there nowadays. One of my sponsors, their OTG Meals. I had a vegetarian chili today at work, of all things, right? Because it's like, didn't bring my lunch. I didn't feel like going out for lunch, and I happened to have one sitting there, and I cooked her up and ate it. It's like, wow, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
wouldn't even know there was no meat in it. So it's
and it's so good for you. I mean, honestly, you can lower your cholesterol dramatically by eating plant-based, and you can prevent a ton of diseases. A ton of diseases are preventable. It's just all in the diet. And I'm not going to preach too much because, but
each his own, right?
Highly recommended. Yeah.
Let's see here. Dieter's saying, did you guys, did you use water right out of the lakes or treat it before using it for cooking?
I filtered mine. I just filtered mine with the Sawyer squeeze, and then drank it straight.
Yeah, filtered or boiled. Yeah, sometimes both. We did.
But
we
no
did have
chemical
some tablets.
treatment.
We did have some. I did take some tablets with me. I don't think I ended up using any in the end.
I didn't use any either.
No, just filtered and boiled. Yeah, I wouldn't drink it. I don't think it's recommended to drink straight out of the lakes out in Algonquin, is it?
No.
Beaver
What's the take, Dennis? I mean, would you drink it straight out of the lake?
Only if I had to. I've had to before, but I typically I'll filter. I use a Catadine system now. I've got about 3 or 4 different water filters, including a Sawyer and a couple of others, Life Straws, MSR. But yeah, I tend to use the Catadyne now because I just find it so easy to scoop that bag up and squeeze it. A lot of people drink right out of the filter. I tend to squeeze it into a bottle as well.
Yeah.
However, if I'm cooking with the food and I know I'm going to bring it to a boil, like
straight out the lake,
coffee or tea, or for for my freeze dried meals, I'll typically just scoop and use it right that way.
Same as what we did pretty much.
And you look in there, you look at the water really carefully, you can see all these like little critters swimming around in there. And more protein, right? So,
exactly.
Totally. If
The
it's
more the
boiled,
better.
it's fine.
But I like a good mix of fresh and freeze dried and dehydrated meals when I go away. You got to have the fresh stuff. Did you guys? Well, I guess Eze didn't, but did you guys do like a steak dinner or anything? Which is customary here in Canada. You got to have the steak dinner on your first or second night, right?
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that. No,
No.
I had I bought some salmon, didn't I? I had
The salmon,
fillets on the first night, which was some fresh veg. I think that's what I did.
Yeah,
my first night. Yeah.
Right.
I think
but there again, each his own, right? My crew of guys, and you ask anybody in the chat here, they'll all probably say, "Yeah, you got to have your steak, steak cook out there with your first or second night, right?" I like doing it the second night because the first night you're usually tired from travel and everything else.
That was the case for us as well, wasn't it? Yeah, the first night in camp we were late, and I had to cook up this meal because it was I had this bit of salmon that needed eating and all the fresh veg, and I was envious of everyone there, freeze dried meals who were done and finished, and I'm still cooking. But it was worth it in the end.
It's perspective, because I was looking at your salmon, I was envious of you.
You get that all looking over to see what your buddy's eating beside you. He's like, "Damn, I could have had that too."
Exactly.
We went to a park there last year, Naganash, and one of the guys that come with us, he's a restaurateur, right? So if you could imagine, this guy, he brings stuff and he's pulling stuff out of his like he's pulling out cream cheese and smoked salmon and capers and the bagels, and he's spreading. It's like, what the heck are you eating here, man? Like, and we're sitting there eating freeze dried, right? or dehydrated food. And this guy's eating like a king. It's like, nah, something not right here. Something's not right here. But but that's the beauty part of everybody doing what they. You do you eat what you want to eat, right? So that's that's cool. So when you guys are driving around, who got to drive on the wrong side of the road?
Fred did.
Fred drove.
I did have to correct him at one point. I was like, Fred, other side,
Oh, really?
Yeah. We're not used to driving on the wrong side.
I went to the UK of how I'd be able to drive over there.
We'd all driven abroad anyway, hadn't we? We've all spent, like I spent a bit of time in the States, and you've been over to, we've all driven on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
Plenty of time. Or your right side of the road, our wrong side of the road.
I'm just trying to pull questions here from. Did Paul get better at the food hang rope, or did Eze
No. Yeah, that's
Everybody saw it. Everybody saw it.
That's all right. So when you guys put out your finished product there for your videos, pretty good viewership. I know there was a buzz over this side of the pond about your series.
Yeah.
That's one of the questions why I wanted you guys on.
Yeah. So we were discussing the format of the video quite many times in the trip. We were like, is this going to be a kind of movie format? Are we going to do one long video? And Paul and I decided, I think it was the right strategy to do episodes and because we don't go camping every week, or like most of these awesome big guys they can post once a week or once every 10 days or so. We usually post once a month or once every 3 weeks or whatever, sometimes less. So we had this opportunity, we felt, to do a series and to post, one a week and try to create a little bit more engagement and more connection with the viewer. And our rationale was, if we add up all the views that we would get in a 9-part series or 8-part series, we would probably get more views than if we just did a single video. And I think that was the case for both of us. I don't know, Paul, what you would say, but I was pleased with the number of views, and I mean, it's never enough, right? It's never enough.
It
You
grows,
always want,
because your channel's still in the smaller, both your channels are in the smaller
Yeah.
stages right now, right?
yeah,
A lot like mine here, and it's you have to grow these things, right? So
it's a grind. It's a grind for
It's-
sure.
I do it for the fun, If it grows, it grows. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I enjoy doing it. As soon as I stop enjoy doing it, I won't do it. But
Yeah.
All right, the series. I mean, it's a lot more editor friendly as well. You can break it down into chunks. The idea of editing like one massive, 2.5 hours. I mean, I guess when you come to do your last movie, say the big one, you kind of had them roughly there. You
Totally.
just had to piece them together. But if you're doing 2.5 hours to watch it and rewatch it, would be an editing nightmare, wouldn't it? Really?
Definitely. And I think the quality wouldn't be as high because you just have to start cutting stuff from the beginning, and when you're focusing on an episode, you're really capturing the best bits of that day, and then all of a sudden you put all those best bits of each day into the timeline into a 9-day thing, and then now you're getting rid of the worst bits of the best bits, and you're ending up with this kind of hopefully a super content. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard, right, to judge when you're.
Who knows what people want? Yeah.
If you like it or you don't, you might like it, but you could be boring your audience to death with this explanation about why the gas canister floats in the water. And, I mean,
yeah, you don't want to be searching for content. But I think you guys all did a great job getting across the story.
Thank you.
The main thing, and like I say, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show was to find out why you came to Canada to want to take in something that many of us do take for granted over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To some, it's a big deal. To some, it's not a big deal. I know people that are camping in Algonquin Park 4 or 5 times in a season, right? And do they take it for granted? Well, probably not if they're going there 4 or 5 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's the ones that go there once in a while. It's like I think one of you mentioned it earlier. It's like seeing or doing the same thing over all the time. I live near Niagara Falls, right? Niagara Falls. We have tourists come from all over the world to go there to see this falls. I drive by it. I hardly give it a second look. It's like, oh, what color is it today, right? I'll take a look. But I go up to northern Ontario, and I see a little waterfalls that's like 2 feet high, and I'm taking pictures and shooting video of it, and I'm in awe because you don't get to see it all the time. You don't get to experience it. And I'm so glad that you guys actually had the opportunity to come over, experience a Canadian icon being Algonquin Park. You know what I mean? It's world renowned. People from all over the world come to experience it, and you guys did. And like I say, I'm very happy that you guys had the opportunity to experience a bit of what Canada's all about. I think.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
Yeah, no, we loved it. And
yeah, so excited, loved it, beautiful. It'd be a nice place to be able to take it for granted. I mean, having so much availability too. But for us, we not having anything on that scale near us is just. Yeah, it's amazing for us.
Talking about inspirational stuff like that, what inspired? Who inspires you? Are there YouTubers? Are there outdoor personalities that?
Definitely.
I think Paul, you mentioned Ray Mears earlier, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, he's not really known for YouTube, I guess, but yeah, in the early days in the 90s, Ray Mears was definitely for me, and also Paul Kirtley as well. Who was like his number 2 man, who does loads of stuff like bushcraft on the internet. I've done a couple of his courses. I've done his plant ID identification course and his bushcraft course, and they're both fantastic. But he's got loads of free stuff out there as well. So him, Ray Goodwin as well. I like his videos. He started doing some stuff on YouTube, didn't he, a couple of years back, and he's really good instructional videos. And also MCQ Bushcraft as well. He was one we had in the UK. That was he's in Sweden now. He doesn't really do so much in the way
of an archive now. He's renamed it Bushcraft Archive.
But massively influential on me. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be an inspirational person on YouTube, right? Because there's so many outdoorsy type of people out there that's
Les
YouTube is
Stroud.
relatively new, right? There's a lot of people that are icons out there that have inspired
So
people
much.
for many, many years, right?
Yeah.
So,
Les Stroud, for me, like Les Stroud, what a legend. And then on YouTube, definitely John Tario is a legend, and Xander and Jim Baird. I mean, Jim Baird is just man.
Yeah.
Jim Baird is just, I don't know. I love him, man. I love all of them, but they all inspire me to do more. And I see how they film as well, and you learn their techniques, and you really appreciate more of. You can see once you edit your own video, and then when you see somebody else do it, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. You can tell how much effort they've put into it, just to get the scene right. And a lot of people, and I think the beauty of inspiring each other like this on YouTube is you can take that inspiration to your daily life. You see someone, and it's not always the most knowledgeable person. You see sometimes someone that's a pretty average guy doing something, and that can be more inspiring, because you're like, wow, this guy, he's not an expert, and he's doing this, so I can do it too. So I have found inspiration from many, many people.
There's so many out there. So many good. YouTube's just full of people doing amazing stuff now, isn't it?
Like for me, when I was cutting my teeth into the outdoors, probably one of my biggest inspirations was Hap Wilson. The first time I met Hap Wilson, my daughter says, "Dad, you're fangirling," right? Is like I met somebody that I never thought I'd ever get to meet. His canoeing books to me were like almost like a Bible, right? So it's pretty cool to meet somebody that you've admired for years, as far as inspirational towards the things that you love doing, right? So that's all good. Well, you know what? I'm sure you guys are, inspiring to others as well. Eze, I see you always have you're doing a lot with your kids. A few of the last videos I've watched of yours are with your daughter and your son there, and you've got 4 kids, so it's great to see you're passing that torch, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a really it's a beautiful opportunity to bond with the kids. I find that nothing provides that kind of quality time. Jim Bear is the real deal. Yeah. He is. With the kids, it's just an amazing playground for them. And as a parent, you say no a lot of the time, and you try not to, but don't touch this, don't do that, it's bedtime, go to bed, and just flip it around for a second. You're a kid, you're full of, you're so curious about the world, about how things work. You're so present in the moment, seeing colors and things, and you want to touch everything, you want to explore, and people are telling you to be quiet, and you realize after you do it, it's definitely the biggest challenge is being a parent, for sure, because you always give yourself a hard time after you think you've done the right thing, and I could have been more gentle, I could have been more patient, it's just, there's never the right answer. But when we go out there in nature, I it's like they say, can I go do that? Yeah, go, go in the water. What's the worst that could happen? You can get wet, have an extra pair of clothes, and go exploring. You want to fish. You want to light the fire, and I see their confidence growing so much out of it, and they're like their face lights up when they do something. Itai, the boy, he's 6 years old, and he wants to do everything. He's like, we're clipping the tent, he's like, leave some clips for me, Dad. He's like, he doesn't want me to clip all of them, so he's like, leave some for me, and that is infectious, and many times I've drawn like strength from them in situations where it's raining or cold, but I see, and they're the ones to pick me up. They're like, Dad, it's okay, we'll just light the fire, and that naivety is actually a power. We can learn so much from them, because sometimes it is just a matter of attitude, and they're naive to the problem, but sometimes maybe that's better, just
Yeah.
not to think about the problem, just think about the positives.
Yeah, you know what? I seen a sparkle in your daughter's eye, even though you had to cut your trip short. You know, I seen the sparkle in her eyes and the way that you were letting her do things that maybe a lot of people wouldn't let their kids do. But let me give you a little word of advice, okay?
Yeah.
When you become a grandparent, it's your do-over, and you get to fix all the mistakes that you made with raising your kids, right? You let your grandkids do what they want to do, things that you wouldn't let your kids do.
I know.
And because you know it's going to be okay. You know what I mean? So it's chalk it all up to experience. That's a great feeling.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, fellas, you know what? I think we had a great evening. You guys, it's quite late there for you. It's got to be what, 1:47?
It's
10 to
yeah,
2?
almost 2. It's okay.
Yeah. We'll let you fellas get to your beds, and we'll maybe do this again one day. It was fun.
Thanks for having me, Dennis. I appreciate it.
Paul, I'm so glad you were able to make it. I was really happy today when Eze told me that you were going to be able to make the show.
Yeah.
He says, "Is there anything you could do with the thumbnail?" I said, "I got to make something happen, man." I said, "I'm so glad to have you. It would have been nice to have Matt on as well, but we'll cross that bridge when it comes." So
yeah. Dennis, thank you very much for having us. We appreciate it, and thank you to all the Canadians in Canada for welcoming us. You know, it was a really awesome welcome. And we can't wait to go back to Canada.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Gentlemen, stay safe, keep the adventures alive, and you know what? Hopefully, if you ever make it back to Canada again, you got my email, you got my phone number. Well, I can give you my number, and you know what? Give me a ring. But I think where you're planning on maybe doing your next trip, Eze, I don't know if we'll be able to connect up there. We'll just leave it at that.
Perfect.
Oh, really quick. Where can people find your channels and social media? We'll get there.
Yes, I'm on YouTube when nature pulls, and also on Instagram as well. Yeah.
Okay. And
same for me. Eze Adventurer on YouTube and Eze Adventurer on Instagram. And drop me a message if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer. And thank you guys for watching as well.
Yeah,
it's awesome. I'm going to drop you boys in the basement, and I'll catch up with you in a minute. So don't go anywhere. I'm just going to close up the show, and we'll have a quick little chat after.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having us.
Well, hopefully everybody enjoyed tonight's show. You know, I mentioned at the top of the show, and I mentioned it in past shows, I love watching collaborative video efforts. You know, watching the different perspective of somebody's trip when they're traveling together, and you know, you can see in the background, and you know, it's just a really fun watch for me, and that's what one of the big allures to this whole trip that these 4 individuals did, to 3 of them being YouTubers and sharing their experiences, and to see each person's take on the video, and you know, the things that caught their eye so much that they wanted to share it with everybody. Really good. You know what, people, keep doing these collaborative efforts out there, because Canoe Hound really enjoys them. Anyways, I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. Please do check out their channels. If you haven't already done so, hit that thumbs up. If you haven't already done so as well, hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed what you've seen tonight. I know I tripped over my tongue a million times tonight. Didn't get a good sleep last night, and I think that's what it was. But got to stop drinking espresso before I go to bed. I really do. You know what? With that being said, just remember that next week we have Yours Outdoors will be on featured on the channel. And then we got a couple of really good episodes, something that everybody's been asking for. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag until I know if I have it cemented in place for the 17th, or sorry, the 24th or the 31st. So we'll stay in touch with that there. But anyways, everybody have yourselves a great week, and please do keep the adventures alive. Till next time.